The alarm rings in the darkness. The same routine, the same commute, the same tasks waiting at a desk or a station. A day of effort, of pushing, of striving, only to return home, rest, and prepare to do it all again. Does this cycle ever feel familiar? Does it sometimes feel pointless? As if you are engaged in an endless, repetitive labor with no ultimate peak to conquer, no final victory to claim? If so, you are intimately acquainted with the fate of a figure who has haunted the philosophical imagination for millennia, Sisyphus. Welcome to Existential Psychology Insights. If you are driven to explore the profound questions that lie beneath the surface of our daily routines, I invite you to subscribe and join our ongoing conversation. Today, we are not just recounting an ancient Greek myth. We are delving into one of the most powerful and life-affirming philosophies of the 20th century through the eyes of the philosopher Albert Camus. We will explore his concept of the absurd and how the image of Sisyphus, condemned by the gods to eternally push a boulder up a mountain only to watch it roll back down, can become not a symbol of despair, but a model for a heroic and even happy human existence. The central radical question Camus forces us to ask is this: what if we are to imagine Sisyphus happy? To understand this, we must first understand what Camus meant by the absurd. For Camus, the world is not in itself absurd, and the human being is not in itself absurd. The absurd arises from the confrontation, the clash, the irreconcilable divorce between two things: our profound, innate human longing for meaning, for clarity, for rationality, and the universe's profound, unreasonable, and utter silence in response to that longing. We cry out for answers, for a grand purpose, for a cosmic justification for our suffering, and the universe offers none. This gap, this chasm between our need for meaning and the world's apparent meaninglessness, is the realm of the absurd. Faced with this realization, Camus argues that humanity typically resorts to one of three responses. The first is physical suicide. If life has no ultimate meaning, one might conclude that it is not worth living. Camus acknowledges the logic of this temptation, but ultimately rejects it. To him, suicide is not a solution to the absurd, it is an evasion. It is a capitulation. It doesn't solve the fundamental conflict, it simply annihilates one of its terms, the self. The second, and more common response, is what Camus calls philosophical suicide, or the leap of faith. This is the act of escaping the absurd by leaping into a prepackaged system of belief that denies the absurd's existence. This could be a traditional religion that promises an afterlife and a divine plan, or a rigid political ideology that claims to have all the answers to history and society. For Camus, this is also an inauthentic escape. It requires one to sacrifice their most precious asset, their intellect, their lucid reason, and to accept comforting doctrines on faith. It is an attempt to fill the void with an external, unproven certainty, thereby negating the very freedom and consciousness that define our humanity. Camus rejects both of these escapes. He insists that the only authentic and noble response is the third path, to live in a state of rebellion. This is not a political rebellion with guns and banners. It is an existential rebellion. It means living with full, lucid awareness of the absurd conflict, refusing to accept it with resignation, and yet also refusing to escape it through false hope or self-annihilation. The absurd person keeps the absurd alive by constantly holding both terms of the conflict, our desire for meaning and the world's silence, in conscious tension. This rebellion is expressed through three key principles: my freedom, my passion, and my revolt. My freedom is the recognition that without a divine plan or eternal rules, I am radically free to create my own values and live by my own code. My passion is the decision to live life as intensely and as fully as possible, to exhaust the field of the possible, because this finite life is all I have. And my revolt is the constant, conscious defiance of my fate. This brings us back to Sisyphus. The gods, believing there was no more dreadful punishment, condemned him to this futile and hopeless labor for all eternity. He is the ultimate absurd hero. He is fully conscious of his wretched condition, He knows that every time he reaches the summit, the boulder will roll back down. There's no hope for ultimate success, no illusion of a final reward. His existence is the very definition of the absurd life. During the descent, as he walks back down the mountain to retrieve his stone, Camus imagines Sisyphus in a moment of consciousness. This is his hour of breathing, his moment of awareness. He sees his fate clearly. He knows the full extent of his misery. And it is in this lucidity, this clear-eyed view of his condition, that his rebellion is born. So how can we imagine him happy? Sisyphus's happiness is not the giddy, smiling happiness of our modern advertisements. It is a grim, defiant, and profound contentment. He is happy because he has become the master of his fate. The gods have given him his punishment, but they cannot control his response to it. By consciously accepting his rock as his thing, by embracing the struggle as his life, he robs the punishment of its power to crush his spirit. His scorn for the gods and his defiance in face of his fate constitute his victory. The struggle itself, the act of pushing, the strain of his muscles, the sight of his rock, this becomes his world, a world he has made his own. As Camus so powerfully concludes, the struggle itself toward the heights is enough to fill a man's heart. One must imagine Sisyphus happy. This is not just a myth. It is a blueprint for our own lives. We are all, in some ways, pushing our own boulders. The repetitive job, the challenges of raising a family, the pursuit of a difficult skill, the daily battle with our own limitations. The temptation is to see these struggles as mere obstacles on the way to some future happiness. But Camus teaches us to find the meaning in the struggle. To apply this absurd rebellion means to bring full consciousness to our daily tasks. It means to perform our work not with resentful drudgery, but with a defiant passion, knowing that this act, this moment of effort, is our life being lived. It means finding our freedom not in escaping our circumstances, but in choosing our attitude toward them. We can find joy in the mastery of a craft, in the love we pour into our relationships, in the knowledge we gain. Even if these things have no ultimate cosmic significance, their significance is the one we give them. The philosophy of the absurd is not a philosophy of despair. It is a call to live with intensity, with passion, and with a profound sense of freedom. It teaches us that even in a silent, indifferent universe, a human heart can be filled by the conscious, defiant, and rebellious act of simply pushing its own rock.